Hello once again. You're welcome to Dear Dev. Let's not forget that this is a cheap corner where we figure out tech together. So when we find out bugs that make us feel as if, oh, tech is not for me, that's not true. I believe that many of us are capable of handling tech, we just don't know it yet. All right, let's dive in. So today we are handling a loop error that has to do with being off by one. What do I mean by being off by one? Let me uncomment my script here and we'll see what we're talking about. I have an array and I have two scripts. When I run it in the console, I'm expecting that the first loop reads out all my fruits and the second loop should also read out my fruits, but in different ways. The first one just uses a fruit called banana, while the second loop consoles something like another fruit called banana, something like that. But if we look at our console, something is weird. The first script says a fruit called apple, a fruit called banana, a fruit called lemon, a fruit called undefined. I don't have undefined in my array of fruits. Okay, let's look at the second script. We have a fruit called apple, a fruit called banana, but we can't find lemon. Where's the fruit called lemon? So that's what I mean by off by one. In the first script, an extra fruit is being called on that I don't even know where it came from. While in the second script, we are short one fruit. So we are off by one, either more or less. These are mistakes that show up when we are working with loops in JavaScript. Now let's look at what is going on in the first script. In the first script, we are saying, oh, read out all the fruits as long as it is less than or equal to fruit.length. Fruit.length is 3. That is, we are talking about the length of the fruit. That's supposed to be 3. So if we are saying that I should start from 0 and get to fruit.length, are you seeing what's going on here? Let's console what I is so we know what the problem is. And let's get this man out so that we see what we are trying to resolve here. I have 0, a fruit called apple, 1, a fruit called banana, 2, a fruit called lemon, and 3, a fruit called undefined. Because we said we want to get to fruit.length. If we are getting to fruit.length less than or equal to fruit.length, then that means we have to get to 3 because fruit.length is 3. Don't forget that we are doing 0 indexing. We are counting from 0. So if we are counting from 0 and we are counting to 3, then where's the fourth fruit going to come from? Because counting from 0 to 3 means you are looking for 4 items, and our array is a length of 3. So it means that we have gone beyond what we are supposed to be counting since we are counting from 0. So how do we fix this? Instead of saying less than or equal to fruit.length, we'll just say anything less than fruit.length. So you keep counting. As soon as you get to the length of fruit, stop counting. So if we fix that and we come to our console, we get all our fruits, no undefined added to it. We get all the fruits in our array. We get the apple, we get the banana, and we get the lemon. So now, looking at the second script that we have written, we are also counting. But who can see the mistake we have made there? We said less than fruit.length minus 1. We already reduced the size of the fruit. And then we still said less than. So basically, if we say fruit.length minus 1, it means that we are working with 2. Because fruit.length is 3. So we are saying count till we get to 2. Then look at your condition here. You are asking for I to be less than 2. So if I is less than 2, it means that you are going to have to reduce how many things you are counting. So let's confirm that by adding our console. If I console.log I, what I will see is 0, a fruit called apple, 1, a fruit called banana, because we have said less than fruit.length minus 1. We have reduced fruit.length. And then we now said we wanted to run to less than it. So if we're running with fruit.length minus 1, it means that we have to come here and say less than or equal to. So you would run till you get to anything less than or equal to fruit.length minus 1. So if I have that and we go back to the console, we should have all our fruits, nothing lost. So you could either just run it by saying the entire thing, fruit.length without reduction, but you say less than, so I will be less than fruit.length. You either go that route, but if you want to use fruit.length minus 1, then you have to say less than or equal to. So if we look at both of them in our console, we have all our items. A fruit called apple, a fruit called banana, a fruit called lemon, then another fruit called apple, another fruit called banana, and another fruit called lemon. We have everything, and we have fixed the issue of off by 1. So now that we have done this, I know that we have tried to remember. But as much as we try to remember, there are other ways to solve this problem. Like, you don't need to remember whether you're supposed to add 1 or remove 1 or make it start from 0, make it less than 0, because JavaScript gives us other functions to sort this out. And those functions are map, for each, and for of. So now let's work with these methods I mentioned. We have map. Why I say it's better for us to use the modules, the functions that JavaScript has given us, because we don't need to remember the numbers and the counting and whether we need to add or reduce or use less than or equal to, because these functions just figure out the numbering and gives us what we want. So now if we look at map, let's get this out so we know what we're actually working with. If we look at map and we just say, oh, fruits.map, and then we go through what we want to we log what the index of map is, we see that it gives us what we want. The index of map. Without having to find out the length or whether it should be added or subtracted, we can see that it gives us 0, 1, 2. The length of fruit is 3, and since we are doing 0 counting or 0 indexing, we have gotten what we want without trying to add or subtract or find out anything. So this is telling us the index. But let's assume we have scenarios where we want to log the fruits just like we did before. Map takes in each element in the array. It also takes the index, and it also takes the array itself, but that's optional. The index as well is optional. But let me run this to show you how we can get both the index and the fruit name. So we have the index, and then we can also say console.log a fruit called fruit. So if we look at that in our console, we find the index, which is 0, a fruit called apple, the next index, which is 1, a fruit called banana, and the third index with a fruit called lemon. We have fixed that without trying to remember what number is supposed to be what. But we have instances where we could say, oh, I don't want to count from 0, I want to count from 1. If that's what you want to do, just add 1 to the index. And you can do your normal counting. 1, 2, 3, or whichever way you want to count. That is if you need the index. But as I said, the index is optional. So you don't even have to run an index. You just print out your fruits. So basically that means that I can also remove my index from here It's optional. I still have my fruits without having to remember what the index is or whether to add or subtract one. We're not we're not afraid of the off by one error because we're using map. And don't forget, I am using fruit here because it helps. It's a user-friendly way of writing code because I know that what I'm discussing is called fruit. But I can decide not to use fruit. I could just come here and say item. And this will also be called item. And I have my item. A fruit called apple, a fruit called banana, and a fruit called lemon. That's we are using map. Now we have another one called for each. It does the same thing. For each just also loops through everything in the array and gives it back to us. So we just say, okay, for each element in the loop, give us in the array, give us the content. And then it does that. It gives us one fruit called apple, one fruit called banana, one fruit called lemon, without having to remember the numbers. And as I mentioned, we also have the other option of using for of. So if we use map for each or for of, we get the same thing. It gives us all the elements in our array without having to remember whether to add or subtract one or to start from zero counting or not. So if I were you, I would use something that does not make me have to remember. But although it is good to remember, but map for each and array and for of on our array reduces our tendency to make those off by one error. So I hope I've been able to clear this part of our off by one error. We can figure it out together. If you have any more questions like this, please drop them in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can see more of this kind of videos. Also, I would like to know if you have had any issue where you spend ages trying to figure out why you have undefined in your output or you have less than what you're supposed to have from your array. Let's talk about it, let's laugh about it together. We would have issues with tech and we'll figure it out together. So let's just have fun while figuring it out together. See you some other time. Bye.